Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
To the brightness within you and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Press 1. That puts you in queue to talk to us. Hello, Lisa, in the chat room. And we welcome you to the show. Hi, Michael.
Hi, sweetie. Delight to have everybody with us. Another awesome day in the Ozarks. And we just finished a month of intensives here, and as with most of the country, the temperatures were pretty crazy. And the day the intensive completed, the temperature dropped about 25 degrees. It's probably 75 out there right now. The mornings have just been glorious, sunny, beautiful days. We are so blessed. We're here in the Ozarks in southern Missouri, and we are blessed to be able to share this show with you, and in particular, the ancient Aramaic tool of forgiveness. Our new website is going live, and so from now on, if you go to www.whyagain.org instead of .com, things have gotten easier too, because if you don't know where to start with this work, all you have to do is click the button in the very upper left-hand corner. It's the first thing you see on the site. It says Start Here. There you'll have the whole forgiveness process. You'll have the download of the worksheet. You'll have several different worksheets. You'll have several different radio shows where we walk people through the forgiveness process. And what we're looking to do with this work is to create a space on planet Earth where it's safe for human life. Now, I often think about the song line or the melody line in the song about Vincent van Gogh that says, "This world was never meant for one as beautiful as you." Well, guess what? Your awesome, beautiful spirit was designed to be in this world. And men, that is, non-humans, have made it seemingly impossible and unsafe. So we're looking to bring the tools to every mind, heart, and being on the planet for making it safe. Let's join together and put an end to war. Let's create a place where it's safe for human life to show up. What's a human life? Just hold a newborn child. You know what it is. People will often say, how could a human being do such an atrocity as that one we read about in the paper last week? Well, my offering is a human being can't do an atrocity like that. However, non-humans can do atrocities in a heartbeat. And so what we're looking to do is to put an end to the atrocities, to restore the awesome active presence of love to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. Whether it's the victim or the victimizer, whether it's the bully or the bullied, whether it's the hateful, the fearful, the grief-stricken, the pain-filled, the abusive, the murderer, the rapist, the thief, the mass murderer, the totalitarian mind that wants to take over millions of lives and is willing to kill millions of people to do it. We're here to bring healing. We're here to support the awesome active presence of love showing up in each of those minds, in each of those hearts, as each of those beings. Well, Michael, how do you do that with somebody who's so terrible? Well, it's really pretty simple. Not easy necessarily, but pretty simple. You teach forgiveness. You teach people how to remove the hostilities and fears of the generations that never belonged within their structures. How do you do that? Well, go to whyagain.org. Upper left-hand corner, link says, Start Here. There you go. There's the whole list. There's the how-to. So we invite you to go there, start with the forgiveness process, and then as you start to do it, as you read through Chapter 24 of my book, it's a free download. In fact, the whole book is free to download. As you download the worksheet and start to put the pen to the paper, as you listen to Radio Show 1, Radio Show 2, 3, 4, and 5 in that list, each one of them has a total set of instructions, walk somebody right through the whole process. Each one is instructive on a different aspect of the worksheet. So we're through them all. You will be getting a very, very powerful education in how forgiveness works. Again, we got to stop this stuff of forgiving other people. Never forgive anybody ever again for anything. And many people say, oh, that's right, I have to forgive myself. Please, never forgive yourself for anything. You can't forgive another. You can't forgive yourself. That's a Trojan horse. The Greeks have tricked us. Let's get that clear. We've been tricked. We've been fed this line that, you did something really terrible that caused all this pain inside of me, but it's okay, I'll forgive you. Well, that's a trick. Why, I'm attracted to somebody. We have this awesome connection, this awesome presence of love, this sweetness, this wonderful thing. And why are people so terrified that that's destined to become a relationship of hate and fear and anger? There's only one reason. You have hate and fear and anger in you. It's got nothing to do with them. If they have hate and fear and anger in them, then the relationship will become one of hate and fear and anger. The only reason is because we carry that into our relationships. And we carry it in a dissociated mind. And we're sure that everybody else is the problem, and the world's solution of letting them off the hook is the key. Excuse me. I promise you will never have hate, fear, trauma of any form in your relationships if you don't carry that hate, fear, or trauma into your relationships. And if it's in there, it's guaranteed you're going to get to experience it. However, if you engage in the ancient Aramaic tool of forgiveness, you will have the technology with which you can go inside yourself and delete and remove all of that. Let's just be finished with it. It's time, folks. Let's be finished with it. So here we are, teaching forgiveness, learning forgiveness, the actual original idea of forgiveness on the planet. So that's what we're here to share with you. We're delighted you're on the show. And Jeanie, Dr. Tim with us, David with us today.
David is with us. We also have a caller. Let me scan down a little bit further. We have a whole bunch of people on the switchboard today. Dr. Tim is not with us yet.
Well, let's say a quick hello to David, then welcome our caller.
Hello, Michael. Hello, listening audience, Jeanie and everyone. Welcome to the show. And it's great that we have a caller in the queue ready to talk about this work that we're doing here. So I'm doing well and in the process of getting ready for next year.
All right, the cycle begins again, creating this space. So, Jeanie, let's hear from our callers, see what they have to say.
Okay, it's area code 417. You're on the air. 417-689, you're on the air.
Welcome, 417. Where are you calling from? Give us a name. What's your question?
Well, they just hung up. So.
Okay. We lost 417. Okay. So do we have any other callers? Anything happening in the chat room, sweetie?
No, there's several people in the chat room and a whole bunch of people on the switchboard, but nobody has their hand up. If you're out there and you're wanting to talk, please press 1. That puts you in queue. Otherwise, we just think you're out there just listening, and we're glad that you're there listening.
Yes, please. Hit the button. Hit the button. Hit 1. Say hello. Tell us what's on your mind. That's what we're here to support you with.
702, you're on the air.
Welcome, 702. Who are we talking to? Where are you calling from? Well, I know you're calling from Las Vegas area, but...
No, actually, I'm calling from the Heart Center. This is Rick. And
oh, hey.
Hello.
Hey, sir. How do we be?
I'm doing wonderful.
Cool.
I just wanted to report for everybody listening. This has been almost a week since teachers training ended here, and for those who were not here for the intensives, I just wanted to say what a tremendously healing and wonderful experience this has been for me. And I just, I just feel overwhelmed with gratitude, and I want to express it. So I am.
So what is it that you're grateful for, sir?
Well, I've seen tremendous growth in myself as well as those around me, and just so many things about myself that I can see, now that I was with you the evaluation that I took when I was when the intensives were over, and I went through the evaluation and things that I was aware of what I was doing, and I was going to mark things automatically, and truths about myself were evident to me, and I'd say, no, that's not a correct answer, and I could recall, behavior that I'd done that, particularly with others, that I'd say, no, that's, I do love to be with people, and whereas before I automatically would just, have that's not the way I thought about myself, and it's just a lot of little insights like that that's helped tremendously, and that evaluation that comes at the beginning and the ending of a intensive is a tremendous thing. It's a roadmap, and it's like you're on the interstate in.
Well, we're delighted to be on your team, Richard, and we are certainly delighted to have you on ours. The awesome things that you've assisted with here, the projects that you've gotten done have been just monumental and so well completed, so high in integrity level with getting things done. We really, really appreciate you a lot, and thank you. So as you're delighted to be on our team, we are so delighted to have you on ours and to see all things moving forward in both our worlds. As David said, we're on the project of getting the Heart Center ready and doing the next level of what it takes to bring this space into alignment with the next group of people that will arrive, and how that's going to impact our work and the planet. So we're looking to take this work to every mind, heart, and being on the planet, and we appreciate your support in helping us to do it. So do you have a thought or a question for us at this moment? That
not so much a question, but for all those that attended the intensives here, I just want to I think about each and every one of you very often, and I'm thankful that you shared the experience with me. This was, and I want to put a plug in for the intensives here at Heartland. There is just is such a tight-knit feeling, and it's a wonderful space. And there's next year I am going to be back, particularly for the Laws of Living intensive, And there's already folks committed to it, and I would put a plug in and urge everybody to take a look at the schedule and be here for that. I think that's going to be an awesome intensive.
Yes, sir. Well, I'll second all of that, and we've just set our intensive schedule. I think I sent it to you, Jeanie. I think it's on the website now. Where is it? I'm not sure.
No, it's not. You were making edits, so you had not sent it to me yet.
Okay. Well, I will get it and get it to you, and we'll make an offering to our radio show participants. We have it set up that anyone who registers for a 9-day intensive at Heartland next year gets a set of 10 free DVDs as part of the registration process, and we'll offer for those who are listening through our radio show or anybody that you might introduce to the work, we will increase that to a set of 15. So we'll give you all 15 DVDs, which is $600 worth of DVDs free with registration for a 9-day or longer intensive. And basically at Heartland, a residential intensive includes this awesome food. If you're still there, Rick, maybe you could share a little bit about your experience of the food. You were talking to me this morning about how you were a meat eater and cooked food eater, and maybe just share a little bit about that. But the intensives include food, accommodations, workshop materials, everything totally, completely included for 9 days. And the cost of that 9 days is $1,575, all inclusive. And so there's $600 worth of DVDs in the offering. If you go ahead and register, and registration would mean a deposit, at least the equivalent of the cost of the DVDs, and then if you want to do a payment plan between now and the intensive, that would be fine. We'll work that out with you. And we'll see you using those DVDs. If you do that, the idea is that you really put them to work and use them on a daily basis to build the brain cells so that when you get to the intensive, you are well prepared. And the more you've done with this work, the more there will be a reward on the other end of the intensive for you, the more work you'll get done. So we're here to support you. So do you have anything to share about the food aspect of it?
Oh, yeah, the food is awesome. And it's just, yeah.
You can speak up just a little bit, Richard. Your voice is a little bit on the weak side.
Yeah, the food is awesome, and just want to share in the program. There's a 3-day juice fast, and I am I've got diabetes type 1, and there's 2 types of insulin that I take, and but for the juice fast, I found that I didn't have to use it at all, and the second type of insulin that I use is to prevent spikes in my sugar level, and throughout the intensive, I never had to use that. I did use the long-term stuff, but I actually decreased the dosage. So the healthy, mostly raw food, my body knew what to do with it, and it was supportive of what ailments I have acquired.
Cool. Well, we support you getting to the point where you can be finished with that device.
Yes.
Clean and clear of it. And as you handle the issues that go on in the body, the need for the substances that are used to suppress the symptomatology, to suppress and try to bring things into a state of balance without really addressing and healing them. We just open the space for that to heal, to move through it.
Yep.
Pretty fabulous.
Michael, this is Joanne. I'd just like to footnote what Rick said about the food. It was such a wide range of food, and the program itself, it not only provided food that was delicious and nutritious, it also gave an opportunity for participants to discover how to prepare these foods themselves so that they don't just go back home with a feeling of satisfaction. They go back informed and prepared to change the way they eat, the way they think about food, and the way that they handle it. I think that is excellent. Also, it required for people in the kitchen, under some circumstances, it was as many as 7 or 8. I think one time I counted 10. It requires collaboration for people to work cohesively together, and that happened without any training about it. It was just like a serendipitous kind of thing that when everyone got together, they were very enthusiastic about the food and about working with each other, and you had the opportunity to even test so that you had some sense of what the food tasted like. And then in some cases, people got to learn about equipment that they weren't used to using in their own homes. And so you have some of that high-tech equipment here. I say high-tech since it's something that maybe a lot of people don't have. So you also learn something about equipment. You learn about the food. You learn about working with other people. You enjoyed it. And it was pretty much like a raw food buffet. And it was decorative. There were many different varieties of things. And so if there were a downside to that, I would say that at a buffet, you overeat. And that was my experience during this time, was the desire to just taste everything, and everything was a lot of things. And so it's a tribute to the quality and kind and presentation of the food. So that is definitely something that people could look forward to, the learning process about food as well as about individual, life assessment, where they're going, where they've been, and how to get where they want to go. And that personal assessment that Rick was talking about that is administered here is a tool for that kind of assessment. So, you can have insights, but this gives you even greater insights. And I love particularly the assessment that you showed about the imbalances in the ability for one to love oneself, to love others, and to love truth, and how that plays itself out in the game of life. And the good news is how you can change it. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Cool. Well, it's nice to hear your sweet voice and how it's impacted you. It really is. Number one, we were so blessed to have Ari, who stayed almost through the whole month. He was scheduled to be here for 10 days, and then he stayed for another 4 days, and he stayed for another 5 days, and he actually left, I think, on day 14 or 13 of the teacher training.
Right.
To go back to Chicago, but it was so much fun to have him in the kitchen and the work that he does, the way his mind works with food, and the encyclopedic nature of his food is just beyond believable, and how he holds a space in the kitchen for people to work through issues. There are so many people who, kitchen and dinner time was the time when they got verbally, sometimes physically abused, at the kitchen table, and, all sorts of things come up in the kitchen, and Ari holds such a space for that and makes it such fun that those things tend to just work through pretty easily. And, we used to do all the food preparation for people and just put it out, and then we got feedback. It was like, this food was so fabulous, but I have no idea what to do. I don't know how to do it. And so that's another very important component of the intensive, is everybody gets to put their hands on the food and to get involved in, how do you make such a delicious sauce? I mean, most of the dressings that we have, the lettuce is just an excuse to eat the dressing. It's so delicious. And so you get to put your hands on that, learn how to make that, and it's just it's so incredible, isn't it?
Right, absolutely. But not only that, Ari was wonderful, and it was fun working with him, and it was a pleasure and a privilege. But I want to commend Jeanie as well because, like everybody else, she has her own unique style, which is a bit different than his, as it should be. And so what I saw with Jeanie there is with all the hours that she was working, she comes across to me as indefatigable. So I'm going to want to walk in her footsteps in that way, number one. But number two, Ari's system of distributing the work was different. With Jeanie, each individual was given a recipe, and then that meant that you had to search out the ingredients, the spices, and all of these things, so that there was a different kind of learning curve, the way that she handled it from Ari, so it gave people another way to look at the same process.
Absolutely, and the food, that was going to be my next thing once we finished the conversation about Ari, was just to acknowledge how Jeanie, with her giant intellect and her presence of being, is turning out food that is just fabulous, and as you say, a different system, a different process, and so it gives everybody a chance to experience both sides. And we're hoping that Ari, we actually haven't talked with him about it yet, but we're hoping that he'll come back and do food, fun, forgiveness, and word projects with us next year again and see what unfolds.
Well, I just think that it's appropriate, the food part, the fun part, the forgiveness part, and the work part is all incorporated. Those are the ingredients in the program. Just like the food has its own ingredients, the program has its ingredients, and that's what it is. So I think it's very appropriately named. Definitely, and it really is a great tool to have that personal code evaluation so that you know precisely where to work and, in what arena. It becomes very definite. Basically what the personal code evaluation that both Rick and Joanne spoke about is an evaluation that breaks your personal code down into 10 areas. 3 of them, as Joanne mentioned, are love of self, love of others, and love of truth. And so where the mind tends to block itself in awareness of where its problems are, what this does is shows you precisely where your problem areas are and precisely what you can do about it. There's a very precise set of assignments for each of those areas of the evaluation. As Dr. Tim shared with us last week, this evaluation is one that's based on what's called the MMPI, which is kind of the gold standard of psychological testing. And in this realm of psychology, this test, the way they administer it is a test as opposed to an evaluation. Once you've set your scores, you're finished. That's it. That's you. Nothing's changeable. And they might play around with validity scores between therapists to show that their therapy is being effective. But in terms of changing the scores, it doesn't happen. It's not possible. However, at Heartland, because we have the awesome blessing of having the actual original words of the Aramaic Yeshua and his tools, when you apply those tools, we see on a scale of 100, it's quite normal for us to see people who get 50-point, 60-point, 70-point changes on a scale of 100, which is considered to be totally, completely illogical, impossible, not doable. But because we give the assignments as to how to work with that particular arena and change the way your mind functions, because we have that original knowledge from the Aramaic, it becomes just kind of, blasé, oh, well, that'll change. No problem. If you do this in this arena, that'll change. If you don't do it, then it won't change. And then, of course, we administer the evaluation after the intensive again. And so everybody has an idea of, okay, what do I need to do now? As I leave here, where are my weaknesses? And so, they'll start out and we'll assign in 3 areas what the work is that will most benefit you. And then at the end of the evaluation, all of a sudden those scores shoot up to the top, and a new crop of challenges comes forward. So as people leave the intensive, they have specific, okay, here's what you do to change those things
to continue to work. And actually, Mark, who was on the show yesterday, is in the computer world, and we just sent him all of our evaluation materials, and he's going to see if he can work up getting that online so that we can do the evaluation online. And so once one finishes an intensive, there'll be, maybe a half a dozen opportunities to retake the evaluation electronically and to see just where they're at and what the next set of scores are, the next set of challenges are. So it's a pretty cool tool to have. It just pinpoints exactly where to work, and that's all part of the intensive process. And we invite you to come and to be part of that process next summer. The schedule will be online by probably the end of the day. I think I've got it all edited, and I'll get it to you, Jeanie, and we can pop it up there, and people will have the dates. And we'll for our radio listening audience, we'll include 15 DVDs with each registration for an intensive. So plan to come and play with us next year and spend this whole year working with the tools, perhaps in your area, if there's not a support group, working with a support group. And the changes that will happen over the process of 9 days are monumental, nothing short of totally, completely miraculous. So very cool.
And we have three callers.
Well, let's hear another caller. Come on, let's say hello.
All right, we have area code 352. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Lou from Heartland.
Oh, Mary Lou, how are you, young lady?
Well, I didn't want to miss out on such a wonderful opportunity to talk about the food experience and how much joy it's brought me. It's also brought me a few worksheets.
But you say you wanted to miss out on that?
No. My regulatory speech is tripping me up again. So I choose to have smooth sailing and acknowledge how truly getting through the resistance and the anxiety around food I felt really wonderful in the kitchen and felt confident as I put out the nut loaf last night that I had done it in a way that was wonderful. And yesterday afternoon it didn't feel wonderful at about 45 minutes in. I went, this isn't looking like it's supposed to at all. So I had to cancel that goal for it to be done right and paused for another moment and said, blend means put it in the blender. I can do that. So I did. And rather than what I might have done 6 months ago, which would have been to hosted a pity party and invite other people to join me in my pity party and to have made it ruin an evening because I wasn't getting it right. And so I would really appreciate Joanne's support in that and being able to cancel that goal and just move on. That's made a big difference.
So you're saying that it's safe and healing for Mary Lou not to do things perfectly, that it's okay?
Yes, it is.
How awesome is that? Yay!
Yes, it is. I still have more work to do on that mind shifter, but it is safe and healing for me to make mistakes and get things wrong.
Well, maybe you could find somebody else around who might work with you on that issue. I don't know whether there's anybody else on the property that might want to step forward and work on letting go of or becoming a retired perfectionist. Is there anybody else on the phone who would be willing to do that? Jeanie?
Who, me, a retired perfectionist?
What fun we humans are.
Yeah. Well, I would be open to having a conversation about what that support might look like, because I know that for me, I end up sacrificing my own beingness to get to the doingness of things, and I don't enjoy that. I find that that is not really in my own best interest, and so I'm ready to release the next level of that.
So you're saying it's in your own best interest to just not want to let go of that?
Oh, did I do it backwards again?
I don't know. I was just asking.
No, it's in my best interest to release that.
All right. Well, you got my support.
Yes, thank you.
It's safe and healing when Mary Lou makes a mistake, or Michael, or Jeanie, or David, or Terry, or anybody. You know, it's like it's time for us to get over this need to please our power person who demanded that everything be absolutely perfect, or else in some way, shape, or form we were abused. You know?
Yeah.
Whether the abuse was with a look, or a verbal cue, or a fist, or a belt, or whatever it was. And sometimes the verbal cue and the look and the words that came are far more damaging than a belt could be. And so to be willing to let go of those things that demand that we're always on that edge of perfection, which means I never get to soften or relax anything in my structure because I always need to protect myself against the next attack.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead to just soften and be with a group of folks that, well, if I screw up, okay, so I screwed up. All right, so what? I can still be love if I screwed up.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I can still be the presence of love for someone else if they screw up instead of being that old power person stuff. I mean, it's such a difference. Be able to just soften and let the guard down, and instead of living with the guard up, to live in the perfection of the moment of being and just function as a human being, as this awesome presence of love, rather than this machine that has to do everything right all the time or else suffer some form of abuse.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and of course, oftentimes the abuse came from someone who was very loving and caring of us and didn't even know that what they were doing was abusing. You know, when they turned their vicious tongues or their nasty words or their nasty eyes on us, you know, they thought that was loving and supportive, but they had no conscious awareness that that was what had been passed on from their power person as a way to control their children. And it's just, you know, it's like time for us to be able to soften and let the guard down and let everything right down to the core of the structure, soften, open, and let energy flow through the core of our structures rather than having to lock and guard everything around our structures so that when the hurt comes, which inevitably will if we're not perfect, when the hurt comes, we guard and try to keep it out. But in effect, what that does is it locks all that old hurt in and creates degeneration. So to be able to soften to the core of, I can let it go. I don't have to do it all, and I don't have to be perfect. I can change the way it works. And if the abuse comes from a power person, I'll take a breath and I'll just let the energy move through me rather than lock it into my structure. It's like it just changes everything.
I like the idea of softening and relaxing into beingness and letting it pass through.
Yeah, well, you know, we talked yesterday a little bit about the still point breathing process, and, you know, I as you saw in the intensives, I use an example of we know a puddle of water, H2O, is a puddle of water, and we know that if we extract heat from the puddle of water becomes a block of ice. It's still H2O, it's still water, but it's vibrating at a different rate because we've extracted heat from it. It's slowed down. It's no longer this kind of, you know, puddle that moves around a lot. It becomes seemingly solid, fixed block of ice. And if we start adding heat back to the ice, it turns back to a puddle. If we keep adding heat to the puddle, it becomes H2O in the form of steam. All of a sudden, instead of being solid and fixed and locked in, it's free-floating and it disappears.
Right.
And the reason and the importance of the still point breathing process is that breath is to trauma what heat is to water. And so when I take my breath away from a trauma, I tighten things, I lock that into my structure. When I lock that trauma into my structure, the active presence of love is not welcome in that part of my structure. And that part of my structure becomes pained and diseased. When I can breathe into that trauma that I've locked in, what happens is, just like applying heat to ice, ice becomes water, becomes steam, and disappears, the trauma. And that's the importance of the still point breathing process, is applying the breath to the places where we've tightened and locked in trauma. The trauma moves out of its solidified state and moves back to the energetic realm, and it's just free-floating and gone. And we're free of it, and that's where the still point breathing process comes in and why it's such a cool tool. I thought it was very fabulous yesterday when Mark called and shared how his son, I think it was 3 bee stings, and was ready to go home and have a night of trauma, and instead he introduced, after being at the 9-day teacher's training, he introduced to his son, well, son, how about if we just breathe a little bit? And he introduced the breathing process, and instead of locking the trauma, the bee stings in, and being in a victim mode and all of that, his son breathed off the trauma, and he's like, oh, well, let's go for dinner. Just totally changed the direction. When you start to learn to breathe, and that's an important part of our intensives, when you start to learn to breathe, the trauma, literally, just like ice, melts, dissolves, and disappears. It's not a big deal. It's easy. It's simple. And that's one of the tools we're here to share with you.
That was one of my experiences with the movie Dead Man Walking. Susan was sharing that with us the other night, and I'd always avoided watching that movie because I was familiar with the trauma and drama of somebody being on death row for committing a tragic expression of love and pain and just was what society, what other people would call somebody who would not be redeemable. And when we were there in the Heart Center watching the movie, just staying with the breath, and when those themes would come up, just breathing through that, I really enjoyed the movie because I was able to see something different than just being in reaction mode to the horror that I was seeing. It was like, no, I can see past that. I can have a more accurate perception of the movie, more accurate perception of what's happening, and see the love and compassion that the sister gave to be able to stand in the presence of somebody who had done that and stand in the presence of people who call themselves victims of that crime, and just love each one of them and really stay present to the experience and help people to take responsibility for what was theirs to take responsibility for, and to stand and then be able to be a presence of love in that moment again. And so it was a very powerful experience that I had been avoiding because I didn't know how to deal with the anxiety and the trauma that was being triggered in me. So that was
Isn't it nice to have the tools?
Yeah. And it took me a little while to go to sleep that night, I think mostly because I was so energized from that much breathing.
Well, as you let go of the baggage, there's a great line in the Course in Miracles that says you can't be tired.
Right. Yeah.
But nobody could carry the layers and loads of traumas that everybody carries without destroying themselves. And so as you breathe through the trauma that came up stimulated by that movie, you were freer and therefore more energized and more alive. That's the idea of the whole body of the work. It's everything that you want to avoid, that's what you head for. And as you head for it, it looks like, ooh, this is something to tighten in the presence of, and now love is not welcome in that part of my structure where there's tightness. And when I soften and breathe, the tightness disappears and I heal.
Thanks so much, Michael. I so enjoy it. I'm going to head down to the Heart Center and start fixing some lunch if Joanne hasn't already started it. So
fabulous.
I'll see you
we appreciate you.
Wow.
Okay, blessings. And Jeanie's got some other callers for us. So, Jeanie, you want to welcome another caller? Give us an area code.
I have a question first out of the chat room, and it's actually Beth, and she says she's speaking in while she's at work, and she's so ready for self-employment. She says, could perfectionism in a child lead to a diagnosis like learning disabled or difficulty concentrating? For example, too many goals to stay perfect, causing stress and anxiety and inability to concentrate.
Absolutely, totally, completely, 100%. And, Beth, I've actually got you on my list to call right after the show's over if you're going to be available for a minute. I'd like to chat with you. And, the child who is abused, and, the world talks about people who go off to war in the post-traumatic stress disorder. Virtually every person on the planet right now has post-traumatic stress. The trauma of living, of coming up as this gentle, tender presence of love, and having a power person that comes in with rage and grief and their own pain and trauma and piling it on the child is just, it's an unbearable burden. And so the child who lives in that world where, let's say the example we've been using, has to be perfect, and each time they step out of the perfection, a word, a look, a tone of voice, a violence of some kind comes upon the child, of course they become learning disabled. Of course they have attention deficit disorder, because they've learned from experience that if they focus on one thing to the exclusion of all else, they're going to get blindsided. Somebody's going to come along and whack them, whether physically, mentally, or emotionally. And so they're always having to have their guard up, and so, no, can't focus fully on anything that's at hand. And so, that's exactly what it is, and what's needed is the breath and forgiveness in order to change that dynamic. And it's infected virtually everybody on the planet. So my answer would be an absolute unqualified yes, for sure. Once
she says that she had that thought that even with herself, that she gets so distracted so easily, and she thinks that the root cause is that she has too many active goals and she needs to be perfect in each of those goals.
Well, we are going to give you the retired perfectionist hat next time we see you then, Beth.
So we do have another caller. It's area code 517. You're on the air. Who do we have?
We have Rex on the air. How's everybody doing?
Hi, Rex.
Well,
Good.
hey there, young man. It was a delight to have you here the last couple of weeks. It was fabulous.
Yeah, 20 days, actually, and I thoroughly enjoyed it and had my challenges, and they were beautiful opportunities to heal, and I have really enjoyed the process since and during and everything about it. I had somebody ask me, said, well, how did your visit go? And I said, tremendously transformational. And it's a very simple way of communicating how powerful the program that you've set up is, and the space and the amount of love that everybody was emanating and expressing, from within their own being was and is amazing. It's wonderful. So I wanted to at least mention that and comment, yes, about the food. Amen. Amen to you, Jeanie. Amen to Ari. And I've talked to Ari at great length. We talked for about a half hour or so and had a wonderful conversation. And just really appreciate his willingness to share with me. I wanted to get an idea of the basic spices. And we just got into conversing kind of like we did when we worked in the kitchen. He was very helpful. So I wanted to mention that as well. I also, while I'm thinking of it, we are having a support group tonight, and I've been so busy coming back in. This is the first day that I've actually had that I could say, and I've done a little bit of that, but it's been a very busy day, which is good. Yet I'm catching up on my emails, and I had kind of my own error. Thought I was doing the support group tomorrow night, and then after looking at my calendar and figuring it out, I went, oh my, it's tonight. So I got it sent out, but I wanted to get it on the program so anybody who's listening that may have not gotten the email yet is aware of that. So we're having our support group, and you can find it on Michael's site or on my site, and it's in Lansing, Michigan. And hello, everybody, fellow participants of the intensive. I also wanted to give a brief update on my healing and process that surfaced in my grading process and my anticipation for being graded with an A+ on my evaluation at the end of the workshop. And I had, it was amazing, and it still is. I smiled with great big cheesy grin. It took probably, we were 2 hours into our ride maybe when it just dawned on me what I was working on fully. I had the inclination of what was happening and what was going on for me. But when it all came to clarity, it was just a wash of all the energy, and we just moved on to something else. And really all Mark and Tim, I rode back with Mark and Tim, Dr. Tim, to Chicago. All they did is listen. And I was sharing a lot of my feelings and thoughts about the situation with my son and all sorts of things happening. And just in the process of being able to communicate it and being heard, just the everything started linking up, and then I was quiet a while and did a considerable amount of inner work, and boom, boom, boom. And here's what I came up with very simply. I had a very, very strong pattern of needing approval, and anyone who's known me for any length of time has known that and is aware of that. And that I've been breaking up and dissolving big time, but I hadn't for a long time been in a situation where I would be, quote, graded for my accomplishments and how well I did in healing. And I know it may have been pretty obvious to many people, but that's usually the case, It's most obvious to those that are observing versus the person who's got that 2 inches in front of your nose, which was me. And once I fully realized what I was working with, and I stepped back and I said, the whole process was I was questioning my progress, and I made tremendous progress in those areas that I felt that the evaluation said that I was the same. And I know that I have because I know how different I feel, and I know how different my realities are. It's certainly that there's a lot more work to be done in those two areas, as are all of them. But what I came to understand is it was almost like I had thrown out this process of a test to determine, for me, to get the accolades for what I figured or I thought I had approved or I had succeeded. And that was all my evidential mind. And it blocked for just a short period of time the progress that I thought, that I knew that I made. And since I do feel totally changed and transformed, and I would have loved to have been able to share that with everyone. So all of you that are on the call and all the wonderful people in the group, and you, Michael, Jeanie, and everyone else that just supported me in those moments. And there was a fair amount of upheaval that came within me, and it was wonderful to integrate that. So I wanted to give an update on that as well, and I appreciate everybody's support. And we did make some very earth-changing decisions with my son, and we're supporting him and finding a place once he gets out of the hospital, and we don't necessarily feel good about it, but we know it's the right action. And, we understand that it's what needs to take place, and it's releasing him to his own, creations, and actually I think now he should be able to take full responsibility to whatever degree he's capable of for his actions and his cause and effect relationship to his life. So we basically went down to the hospital and had a conversation with him on Monday afternoon, Mitzi, I, and Journey, and we feel good about how it's shifting and changing as far as what's happening for us, and we're going to continue to support him, and we'd love to have all the love and support sent to our family as possible. So that's again the update, and he seemed to handle it pretty good, and I think he's scrambling a little bit, but that's okay. That's understandable, and we'll do whatever we can to help him find accommodations in a place that will work so he can have his total freedom to be able to do it exactly the way he has designed his life to be, and so he can, I think, so we can all grow up. I think another level.
Well, a little bit of scrambling, is part of the process of strengthening the muscles to stand straight and tall. And so, unfortunately, oftentimes people rush into the child instead of letting them scramble a little bit and build those muscles that it takes to stand tall. They rush in and enable by, oh, here, we'll pick you up, we'll pick you up, we'll pick you up, we'll pick you up, we'll pick you up. And, of course, the muscles never develop, and the longer it takes for the muscles to develop, the more difficult the recovery becomes. So we certainly hold the space, and, I hold the space that at some point, Jeanie, being quite familiar with the tools, will choose to turn around instead of chiding them and actually put them to work in his life so that he can strengthen and move forward in his process.
And I'm totally willing to I join with that as well in setting that trap for God to support him and being able to, pull together. He's got the tools. It's deeply ingrained in him from day one, and he's got a lot of tools, probably as many, if not more than most of us. And I think it's just a matter of him deciding to use them, like it is with all of us.
For sure.
Well, blessings.
All right, thank you for your call tonight, Lansing, Michigan, over on Lucy Street. If you go to stillpointbreathoflife.com, you'll see the details. And if you go to whyagain.org, under support groups, you'll find the details for the Still Point Breath of Life, Rex and Mitzi's support group tonight. So if you're in Lansing, be there, be square.
Blessings and love, everyone.
Okay, I appreciate you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, we have just a few minutes left. We're down to about 1 minute. So
1 minute, that's about it, yeah.
Yeah, 786, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Julio today, listening in and blessing everybody, my Heartland family, and I want to thank everybody for supporting me, and the food was fantastic. Ari and Jeanie, and I've embraced my change in eating, and it's paying dividends. But I want to what I want to convey today.
We've only got about 20 seconds at this moment,
Michael,
Julio.
Last night I saw a wonderful movie called A Tree of Life. I think it will resonate with everybody. It was nominated for Best Picture of the Year earlier this year, and it's made in full integrity. It's a beautiful movie, and it deals with a lot of the stuff that we've all been dealing with over the last couple of weeks.
Right.
Hope everybody can watch Tree of Life.
Cool. All right, blessings. Maybe you can call in tomorrow a little early and we can chat a little bit and catch up on the next level of the process. In the meantime, we'll invite everybody to have the best year yet of your eternal life and bring a stranger to the show tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeanie, who present that internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.